Hola, hi. Breaking patterns of overgiving and overextending yourself can be really, really difficult. And I think there is an overlap with becoming visible. I know people that have been with their business and what they were doing quite visible. They didn't have that problem that they didn't have, for example, people coming, but they were constantly overextending themselves, giving too much till they were so exhausted that they had to retreat completely. And so then the question is, how do I put the things I want to put out there? How do I do that without being, depleted completely? And so I think there can be a danger of not doing those things because we have been burned before. We don't know how to set boundaries. And so we think maybe it's then better to just, hide ourselves away. The other danger I see with this, that we have glorified this archetype of the selfless giver, and especially for us women, that's a huge problem. I'm not saying that there aren't men who don't have that problem as well, but we as women have been grown up that we are there for others, that we tend to their emotional needs, and so we might find it even more difficult to say no to certain requests and to look after ourselves. I think when you do put yourself out there more, you will be triggered with that, especially if you are an overgiver and providing a service. You will be somehow challenged in some way, shape, or form. And either you kind of, think about this before you put yourself out there and sit down and say, how much am I willing to give? How much can I give? How much do I give away for free, for example? How much do I help my friends? All those things. Although I think sometimes you just need to do it and then deal with it while you go along, or maybe do a little bit of both. But I definitely can relate to that pattern of overgiving, of overextending myself. And I think for many of us, it ties back also to childhood, where we were maybe growing up in a system where we needed to be emotionally there for our parents and to keep them happy or whatever it is. And when that's the case, it's not easy to break that pattern because we feel so extremely guilty when we say, no, I can't do this. This is too much for me. Go please to someone else or get some professional help. It might also, once we do that, activate a lot of guilt and this feeling of being a bad person. And to be clear on this, often this need to overly help other people and to immediately jump in and offer our empathy and making other people feel seen and heard can collide with that feeling of, I'm a bad person and now I'm out there to prove that I'm actually not. So I'm gonna overly help other people. I think it's a really, really tricky one because obviously there's something beautiful in wanting to help other people. There's something beautiful in wanting to inspire other people and to make them feel seen and heard. But if you at the same time don't learn to see yourself and to feel into what you need, you're gonna deplete yourself completely, and that won't serve anyone. So it's a real, from my point of view, it's a real balancing act, a really tricky one, where we kind of, yes, I think I've said that before, it's a back and forth between putting ourselves out there, leaning into what we have to offer, but also circling back to ourselves and seeing what we need and what this, what makes this work in a way, and really making sure that this is a two-way street. I think even, when you're offering a service, you want to grow an audience that in some way, gives you some energy in some way, shape or form back. It's, when you're on stage and acting, it's also a give and take between you and the audience. And so this is not very much different. So whether we like it or not, at some point we need to sit down and say, what is nourishing me? What do I need? What am I willing to give for free? And where is my boundary? Am I at the moment, replenished enough to do this and that and the other? And so it takes a lot of awareness. I think we won't get it right all of the time. And if you are an overgiver, you will have to deal with that immense feeling of guilt when you set a boundary. Unfortunately, also, often we get very much rewarded. Oh, you're so generous, you're so giving, you're so wonderful. We get rewarded for being the selfless giver. But very hardly anyone ever comes to us and says, oh, it's so great that you're setting a boundary and that you're looking after yourself at the same time, and that you're clear on what you can give and what you can't give, and that you have the self-respect to, to demand respect from other people. So I think it's easier to give because that's what's really rewarded in our society, and not so easy to receive. And I think there needs to be a balance in receiving and giving, and it needs to be a flow. Otherwise, you're gonna be really, really depleted at some point, and it might end up feeling like not sustainable and too much of a one-way street. So I would love to hear whether this is a challenge for you, and whether this might be a pattern that actually is keeping you from, putting yourself and your work out there because you're kind of secretly afraid that people might want too much from you once you become successful, and that you might not be able to handle it. But let me tell you, if you are willing to work with this pattern and say, I can, slowly but surely break through this, and I'm willing to feel the discomfort from doing something different, you can do this. That's what I think. This is Anja Kersten. I work with hiding artists and creative entrepreneurs. Have a good day. Bye-bye.